So hey folks, thanks for watching again, Quiet Places with Marshall and Gwen. Today we are at Fort Onion in New Mexico. No?
No, Fort Union.
Fort Union? Oh, Fort Union. Oh, gotcha. Well, Fort Union here in New Mexico is kind of a tale of the three little pigs in a way, because that building that's behind us, can they see the building behind us? We'll get to that. The building behind us is the third fort that was on this location. So this fort took place from 1851 to 1891. And what's not listed on the website for the fort, provided by the fort, is that it also wasn't welcomed here, being that the land was given to private ownership. But look at that later. Anyway, the first fort was built from not contractors, but from the soldiers to save a buck. And these soldiers built it out of logs, and they built it willy-nilly. And it didn't last very long. In fact, you really didn't want to stay in any of those houses because the bed bugs would eat you alive. The second fort was built out of earthen berms, and very quickly, within 1 year, because the Civil War had started and the Confederate Army was moving north. They were hoping to take Santa Fe, and then this fort. So this fort was actually built out of brick and straw and plaster and things fired in kilns. And we will go see this wonder of Fort Onion. Oh, she's agreeing that it's Fort Onion now.
No, it's Fort Union.
Ready? Aim. Okay, I don't know those people with their camper. We'll leave them alone. A defense of a fort that may not have been required here. But sometimes having the big guns keeps you from needing to use them. Especially at campers over there. We wouldn't want to fire this off. Oops. So outposts like this one, we're here to protect the people traveling on the Santa Fe Trail. The Santa Fe Trail stretched 900 miles, I believe. No, more than that. From Franklin, Missouri to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Maybe it was just 900. Fact check me. Anyway, Franklin, Missouri to Santa Fe, New Mexico for a trade route, also a military route. And the concern was Indians trying to get the Comanches to move to a reservation, like we were always trying to do with people who were here first. Anyway, so the fort was here to protect against Indians, and then as the Civil War began, it was here to fight Confederate armies. The Confederate armies never made it here. At Glorieta Pass, the first Confederates had taken Santa Fe, and then they were moving this way, and it was volunteers from Colorado to protect their gold fields, as well as soldiers from this fort here met the Confederate armies at Glorieta Pass and beat them. So the fort may not have ever have seen any sizable battle. And in 1891, it was decided it just wasn't needed. And in 4 days' time, everybody packed up and left. This was the hospital. And this is the plaque I will quickly read to you. Between Fort Riley, Kansas, and California, you would have found no bigger or better medical facility than the one that once stood here. In 1864, it cost $45,000 to build. This 6-ward hospital had from 10 beds to 126 beds over its life. Here, a hardworking staff of 2 Army doctors, 2 stewards, a cook, 2 nurses, and 3 hospital matrons treated and nursed both soldiers and civilians. Untrained enlisted men also helped tend the sick. Their caseload was daunting: blisters, boils, burns, cuts, coughs, colds, childbirth, fevers, flu, pneumonia, ulcers, gonorrhea, syphilis, scurvy, scarlet fever, typhoid, smallpox, diarrhea, delirium, opiate overdose, alcoholism, rheumatism, broken bones, and gunshot and arrow wounds. How about rattlesnake bites? In December 1876, a typical month, Fort Union's medical staff treated 425 patients, of whom 166 were hospitalized. About 40% of the people who lay in these hospital beds were civilians, who had to pay 50 cents a day for treatment. This post is located on the thoroughfare to and from New Mexico. It is the base of supplies of the district. There are, at all times, men in the hospital not belonging to the command at Fort Union, but who have taken sick or hurt while en route to and from other points and have been detained at this post for treatment. And you get a shadow of a GoPro. We gotta get some closer pictures. So if you care to do a little research on the Mora Grant, I could be wrong, but I believe this is the fort that was actually built on private land. The military said they had need of it. The fight from the ranchers who believed this land was theirs went all the way to Congress, and typically got nowhere because you're up against the military saying this land is my land, this land's not your land. Anyway, so the fort closing in 1891 may also have had to do with conceding the fact that it wasn't military property after all. Look that up, fact check me if you will. We only discovered this place yesterday. This is how much I can learn in 24 hours while doing other things. Fort Union and the Santa Fe Trail. The deep ruts etched, I'm going to point this over here so you can look at that. The deep ruts etched into the earth in front of you are a record of Fort Union's role as the guardian of Santa Fe Trail. Formed from a network of routes used for hundreds of years by American Indians, Spaniards, Mexicans, New Mexicans, and Americans. The trail brought economic success to the towns along its path. With the presence of a growing number of Americans, the trail also promoted westward expansion for the United States. Established in 1851 to protect this vital international trade route, Fort Union ensured that the commerce traveling over 900 miles, I was right, from the United States, Missouri, to Mexico, Santa Fe, reached its destination safely. The fort also utilized the Santa Fe Trail as the primary military supply route, bringing supplies and men to the frontier as conflicts grew with American Indian populations. After the railroad arrived in 1879, the Santa Fe Trail instantly became obsolete and eliminated the need for Fort Union, which was abandoned in 1891. For more than just that reason. Anyway, here on this photograph, you can see the second Fort Union that was made of earth. And then the big bed wolf came and he huffed and he puffed. No, nothing happened like that. The first fort, as we said, was built hastily out of logs and it fell to pieces within a decade. The second fort was built out of earth and they realized it really wasn't going to give them much protection. So the third fort here is built out of the materials that you see there. Let's go check it out, shall we?
Okay.
You know what I'm thinking, Gwen?
What's that?
I'm thinking that big bad wolf was a really powerful wolf.
Okay, and you blew them all down?
He blew them all down. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot left from 1891.
Big bad wolf being Mother Nature.
Mother Nature, the big bad wolf. Well, this was abandoned. Nobody lived here after 1891. It was dumped. And maybe the ranchers decided to take it upon themselves to erode it a little faster. I don't know. But we're going to capture it while it's still here. So this is about the life of a soldier, and there's a little bit of an interesting bits to it. So Miss Gwen will read it for us.
There are few chances for family life for any enlisted man in the United States Army on the frontier. Regulations did not allow new recruits to have a wife or child. No soldier could marry without the permission of his commanding officer. That permission was seldom given, unless the future wife was willing to work for the Army as a laundress. On this side of the street, you see the remnants of 11 18 by 20 foot apartments. Married sergeants, corporals, and privates lived in these one-room homes with their wives and children. A second set of enlisted quarters sat on the next block. Because these wives were carried on the roster as laundresses, their homes were known as Suds Row.
So this was Suds Row, huh? Where they kept the wives of the soldiers. And the wives had to do everybody's laundry. Wow, I got lucky. She does my laundry and I'm not even a soldier.
He does the dishes.
Yeah, I do the dishes. And I never overload the dishwasher, do I?
No.
Oh, I don't? I'll try harder. This looks encouraging. I'm gonna go with sauna.
No, jail.
Oh, it's not a sauna?
It's a jail.
Well, one could wish, you know.
Crime and punishment on the Army post.
For over 20 years, two buildings on the right side of this company street helped military and civilian authorities uphold law and order in New Mexico territory. Inside the guardhouse that once stood on the corner just ahead, inside the prison you see here, deserters, drunkards, burglars, brawlers, assassins, rustlers, horse thieves, Bitcoin operators, no, not Bitcoin people, and Comancheros were punished for their crimes. A frontier army post like Fort Union, with its hundreds of soldiers, military families, and civilian employees, was in effect a small town under martial law. The provost marshal and the daily guard patrols kept the peace and handled problems in this volatile community like a town marshal with deputies might do elsewhere. This thing of standing guard every night is not very pleasant, said William Matthews, private, 8th Cavalry Regiment, 1870. Most enlisted men did not like to hear their names called for guard duty during their entire 24-hour shift. 24-hour shift? They had to stay fully clothed. These men paraded before the post, escorted prisoners to empty trash barrels, guarded the stables and wagon corrals, and took charge of all government property in sight. There was little time to get any rest in the guardhouse. Seriously? A 24-hour shift? Yeah, I wouldn't have cut it here. Hey, Gwyn.
What?
Guess what?
What?
It's a quiet place.
Yes, it is.
I like me quiet places. But I also gotta get some more photos. You know, if they let us walk on the grass, it'd be a quieter place.
That is true. That is true. It's very noisy.
I don't think fireplaces that are outdoors are very efficient.
Oh, they used to be inside. These houses are so small. Where do
Oh.
they keep their Lego collections?
She said these houses are so small. Where did they keep their Lego collections? Gwyn made a funny. You and some bird has a problem. Yeah, let's just put the camera up while I read this one. Here you get one night in bed. Tonight you are on guard. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock you get relieved. 1 hour after coming off guard, you have to saddle up and go on herd. Come in with the herd at 4 p.m., spend 1 hour grooming your horse, then get your supper. At sundown, the bugle calls you to retreat to answer your name and hear who are detailed for guard on the morrow. From retreat till tattoo, 2 hours, you have to shine your belts, clean your gun and brasses so they shine like a gold piece in the dark. Next morning at break of day, you fall in ranks for reveille, answer your name, and then march to the stables, spend half hour on the horses, come back, swallow your breakfast, and then put on all your good clothes, comb your hair, put on all your belts, shoulder your carbine, and then you are ready for guard mount. At the first sound of the bugle, you rush into ranks to be inspected first by your first sergeant, then by the sergeant major, who opens your shirt collar to see if that bit of apparel has been to the laundresses in the course of a couple of months. The band strikes up those patriotic tunes. You are then marched to the guardhouse. During the day, you escort prisoners around camp, emptying swill barrels and etc. At night, you guard over a stable, lots of wagons, and etc. With these orders, take charge of this post and all government property in view. This is soldiering in a nutshell. Eddie Matthews, Private 8th U.S. Cavalry, 1870. Does make you wonder if he's exaggerating any of that. Like, you know, you get to sleep in there somewhere, right? Many men in the ranks came from Ireland, Germany, Canada, Scotland, England, France, Switzerland, and Narnia. No, not that last bit. Some Spanish-speaking New Mexican volunteers and Black Buffalo soldiers served here alongside the farmers' sons and city boys from the east. They accepted danger, harsh discipline, and frontier hardships in return for job security, government-furnished clothing, and bed and board during their 5-year-long enlistments. Now, these enlistments, they were high-paying enlistments. They paid you $13 a month. Look, among all these adobe structures, a Minecraft house. It's interesting that that one actually got real brick. So we were traveling home back to Colorado today after seeing the eclipse, the annular eclipse. And yes, there's a video of that by now. If you're watching this, you can go back one and watch the video of that, as well as the balloon fiesta. And decided to stop here because this is what we're about. Photographing old cool stuff. Let's see, try to read the plaque, but don't leave the gravel trail. Right. Privy. Throughout the 19th century, military sanitation was far ahead of most civilian practice in the West. These sinks, privies, necessaries, and latrines of the military kept contagious disease at a minimum, and even by modern standards, were not unhealthful. Many objects were accidentally lost or purposely discarded in these pits. Excavation has yielded a wide range of such items, as you see here. Oh, I dropped my boot in the privy. I guess I can't go to work in the morning. So much for guard duty. So about that eroded Santa Fe Trail. Well, in this direction, I see a faint road past a house way over there, but not much here left of the Santa Fe Trail. But in this direction, you can see a ghostly figure up ahead walking the Santa Fe Trail. Well, maybe not ghostly. Yeah, it's your imagination. Do as you will. And there's a ghostly Gwyn walking in the moonlight. Okay, 2 parts of that are not true. This is impressive. Let's go inside. Alright, I'm feeling this place. It is a perfect day to be here. So over here we had 2 large carpenter shops, a blacksmith shop for shoeing livestock, a storeroom for wood and iron to repair wagons, and a storeroom for charcoal. Directly in front of us, the 2 good rooms where 4 mechanics lived, a kitchen with stove, range, and bake oven, 2 small storerooms, dining room with 2 tables large enough to feed the 32 mechanics who boarded here, and mechanics' living quarters. And in what's left over here, what's left over here?
Close up there.
2 saddle makers in the saddle shop. That wind is picking up. Firefighting tools, buckets and axes. A harness room to wash, clean, and repair tack. 1 metal worker in the tin shop. 2 painters in their paint shops. Coopers making and mending barrels. There were 2 forges here, where a blacksmith and a striker repaired wagons. 4 men working in the wheelwright shop. And a steam engine house somewhere in here. Willing to bet the steam engine's long gone. That could be. It was all government property, so anything of value got taken out by the government. This whole bit right here just fascinates me, though. So Gwen, I think we probably stretched this video out long enough, and I'm sure we didn't cover it because we never do. We leave some left for you to discover. If you're a photographer, get your butt out here and shoot this, especially at sunrise and sunset when this red stone would really glow. In the meantime, this has been Fort Union.
Fort Union.
She's always correcting me. Fort Union, New Mexico. And you should come out and get the history for yourself. There's a visitor center, there's a gift shop, there's a history lesson indoors. I tend to not spend a whole lot of time in places like that because I love being at places like this, especially with my cameras. So we want to thank you for watching. We hope you'll subscribe to our channel to see our further adventures. That's what we should have called the channel, The Adventures of Marshall and Gwen.
Yeah.
Or Gwen and Marshall. I don't know.
Yes, I get the higher up.
Yeah, you get the higher up. Yeah, it should be The Adventures of Gwen and Marshall. But mainly it was all about us exploring quiet places. And for right now, except for that grasshopper behind me, it's yet another memorable, quiet place for the two of us.